My name's Bill Bratt. I work down Chatterley Whitfield colliery in North Staffordshire, which is the largest colliery in the area at the time. Originally, I had no intention of going down the pit, but unfortunately I was made to. I was made to go down the pit by my father, or rather the gentleman that my mother was married to, Mr. Bratt, because he worked down the pit and he said it was good enough for me. I'd actually got a contract with Crewe Alexandra on schoolboy terms, and he said, football, you got no chance. The pit was good enough for me. Did you going down the pit? And then you had to do what was told in the 50s. You did what your parents told you. You couldn't do anything else. But I was very badly treated because the backstory to that is that Mr. Bratt, as I'll call him, my father, actually was captured by the Japanese, and he worked on the railway. And when he came home at the end of 45, early 46, he got a 3-month-old baby, me. So you can imagine the trauma he went through there. But then, of course, he took it out on me and not my mother, because he went through the war with a picture of my mother in his pocket and doted on her, of course, when he come home. That was the situation. So my early life was really traumatic because one of the things he used to do was tie me in a chair with a washing line and throw lighted matches in my hair until my hair burnt off. Or going past him, he'd punch me or kick me in the privates. And that was my early life, and that's why, you know, at the end of the day, when I got this contract with Crewe on schoolboy terms, I'd also got a job as a mechanic at a garage, and the local church wanted me to do something with them, that he made me go down the pit. It wasn't by choice, but saying that, I don't regret it. You know, the mining community were very, very good. I was 14 going on 15. I went down in the August and I was 15 in the October following. I had a letter from the education department, Mr. Dibden, who was head education then, to start work early because I was the only breadwinner in the family. And at those times we were very, you know, very fraught, and there was no money about. People were really very hungry at the time. It had a massive impact on my life. Without the pit and the mines, I wouldn't have learned half of what I knew to be able to get on in life. And the people down the pit were very, very good. They were rough and tough, but a lot of times they got a heart of gold. You know, you could have an argument with somebody, you could give him a black eye and he can give you a bloody ear or black, you know, a nose, and after that it's finished. You know, and you're best mates again. And everybody looked after one another down there, looked out for one another. And I found that throughout the pit life, you know, people looked after you, especially if they thought you're a little bit deprived. I nearly said depraved then, but I might be right, I don't know. Oh, the funny thing is, I got a motorbike by then and I was knocked off my motorbike by a police car. And I ended up having no thumb and fractured skull and a few other bits and pieces like broken ribs. And when I recovered and went back down the pit again, I couldn't work because I was in that much pain with this, kept banging my thumb, banging my ribs, so I decided to leave, which is probably, you know, a good thing. It was a good thing eventually, but at the time I didn't think so. I'm certain I would have stayed there, yes, you know, but it was a good thing that I came out of it because for the next 2 years I was coughing up black rubbish, you know, from the coal dust and the dust that was down the mines. And being only been down there 6-7 years, you know, you can understand why a lot of miners died early with pneumoconiosis. I found that outside, people weren't the same. You hadn't got the same trust. People lied to you, they did things against you, and that never happened down the pit, very rarely. And that was the biggest problem I found coming out the pit. Finding work was easy because then there was like at least 2 jobs for everybody about who wanted work. But that was the hardest part, is adjusting mentally to the outside world. At one time, Chatterley Whitfield, where I worked, employed 4,000 men. And over the period before then, there was 20,000 people working down the mines in Stoke-on-Trent. and there was 36 mines in that area, which is a small area really, stretching from Chatterley through to Biddulph and round the North Staffs coalfield. The amount of closures were gradual, but when after the miners' strike, they started closing them down at a faster rate, and it had a massive effect on the area, and I don't think it's ever recovered. Unfortunately, the only thing that seems to be in the towns nowadays in Stoke-on-Trent are charity shops and warehousing, distribution warehousing. There are no real jobs like there used to be. And the area, unfortunately, is showing it as possibly one of the worst areas in the country with regard to how the place looks. There's shops empty, the market is only probably 20% stalls used, and you know, there's a lot of dereliction around there. And I understand global warming, we've got to get rid of fossil fuels, and I think that's right, because we are killing the world in lots of ways. But you can't do it straight away. There's still a place for coal, there's still a place for oil, until such time as we can get phased out and have other energies to come forward to take its place, like hydrogen or electricity power, you know, but we can't just do that overnight by the flick of a switch. I loved it, I've got to say that. I loved the pit, and I loved the people down there. They were genuine, and we've lost that now. We've lost a lot of good people that work down the pit and in the potteries, and certainly other industries as well. But I certainly would go back down the pit again. I wouldn't change my life, you know, except if I'd got to be a professional footballer. Well, that's just, you know, one of those things, but I probably was never good enough anyway. But certainly the mines are something that we will never get back again. There certainly won't be any more deep mines, I don't think, in this country. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of countries in the world that are now mining coal to a degree. I mean, China, for instance, there's over 50,000 miners in China. And it shows you what a dangerous job it is, because over 5,000 miners in China lost their life last year in pit accidents. And when I was at Whitfield, Chatterley Whitfield, there was, in my short period of time there was around about 10 deaths due to mining injuries and accidents. You know, so it was a dangerous job, and it taught me more about life than anything else. Yeah, since I've left the pit, I've done various things. I went selling encyclopedias door to door around the country. I went selling clothing on the knock, as they used to say. I went into insurance with the Prudential. I worked 7 years with the Pru, and in that time, after then, I owned a brokerage, insurance brokerage, and went on from that to have chip shops, video shops, and I was chairman at Port Vale Football Club for 10 years. I always supported the Port Vale from when I was a kid. My Uncle Bill used to take me down there on his shoulders, and I remember in 1953, I think it was, they were in the semi-final of the FA Cup, and I was on his shoulders, and all I could see were thousands of flat caps. It could show what a working area it was, you know, and all you could see, you couldn't see people's heads, it was all flat caps. And unfortunately, we lost to West Bromwich Albion, and but like I say, I've been a supporter ever since. And there was in the club was in a bit of a financial state, and the previous owner wanted out really. So there was a consortium formed called Valley in 2001. That tells you when it was formed, of course, which was formed to take the club over or try and get enough people there. And I was recruited probably about 6-7 months into the campaign. And in 2003, we actually took the club over. I always remember the good people and the people that helped me out in the past. Without them, I wouldn't have been here. Without them, I couldn't have done anything I've done. You know, but I thank them from the bottom of my heart anyway.